Hello YouTube family, this is Jasper or Jacob checking in today, whichever you want to call me for today. I have very exciting news and I also have something that I would like to talk about. I always do when I'm doing these sorts of videos it seems. But guess what I got yesterday? I got... Bah! Wait, you could turn it around like this. Bah! It is not finished or even close to being finished. I've still got like this arm. It's an octopus! It's an octopus. Can you see kind of like where the octopus head is? I can't see on the camera. I think it's like that. It's holding the world. It's going to be so cool. So cool. Coolest thing ever when it actually gets done. Now that my immature rant is over, there's something I want to say. And I was like scrolling through Facebook today, right? And I came across the trailer for, what is it, the new horror movie coming out. I need to kind of have the camera in this direction, otherwise it gets really dark and I'm not sure if people can see me. Shoot, what's the name of that horror movie? It's like Don't Breathe or something, is what it's called. And it was like only, what, maybe a 15-second trailer, so it was really short. Not gonna see it anyways, because I'm really not interested in a lot of stuff like that, because it gets boring, because I pretty much know what's gonna happen most of the time. But the thing that caught my attention was the tagline, because it's Facebook. I usually don't even click on the videos because mine will glitch up and won't even let me watch it if I click on it. So I can watch them all on mute. It basically had just like the text over there, which ended up saying like there is totally paraphrasing to an extent, but basically it was like there is no limit to what a man can do once he comes to the inevitable truth that there is no God. And you know, there are other ways that could be maybe labeled in, I don't want to say a positive light, but maybe a less creepy light, because in this sense, it was talking about murdering people and whatever creepy stuff goes on in that movie. I don't know, I don't care. But basically, something that I want to address with that is, I know a lot of atheists, and most of the atheists, they maybe have the extent of that, but they'll use it in the positive sense to where, you know, they've got morals by their own moral compass, meaning that just because they don't believe in God does not mean that they feel they can do whatever the heck they want and get away with all of it because, you know, there's no rules to the universe, so therefore, you know, do what thou wilt, as lovely Aleister Crowley said. Aleister Crowley's not actually a lovely person, he's rather terrifying, but that's basically the thing. And what I really want to get across on that is, even if you don't believe in God, which I'm sure probably a lot of my viewers don't, that's your thing, whatever. But basically, whatever all of these movies are trying to get across to you, which I've seen it happen a lot more often than not, especially in like horror movies. Even Asylum movies have done this. It is flipping Asylum. They don't even know what they're talking about anyways, and they're getting on the bandwagon, which is you can do whatever the heck you want because there are no consequences, people don't matter, only you matter, and in this case the movie's saying, yeah, kill people, it's okay, no biggie, no one's gonna find out as long as you do it good. So, I'm gonna say, I mean, everyone pretty much already knows this, but they're really pressing it on a lot of fronts at this point, movie-wise, so I'm just going to say, don't actually kill people. I find that to be a very, non-constructive use of your time, naturally, but... and also, for any religious people out there thinking that's what all atheists think, I'm gonna tell you firsthand, someone who's friends with an enormous amount of them, that is not actually what 98% of them think. So... for the people who are like on the borderline, that's... I shouldn't even have to be saying this. I probably don't have to, but if people repeat stuff enough, eventually someone's going to start believing it. And I'm going to just come up front and say that it's not how it works. Now, another thing that I've noticed with kind of the trend of just kind of what mainstream stuff's been saying, especially like the generation that I'm a part of, I'm a little bit ahead because I was born in the 90s. You know, a lot of like millenniums and everything have been influenced by it a lot more just because of how oversaturated all of the information we're getting is. You know, it used to be kind of disguised and everything, like, here's an example. One of the things that I noticed why I liked rap so much a little earlier in the days, at least popular rap, because even popular rap was pretty groovy and all those different things, they weren't allowed to directly say, I don't know, directly sexual things, I suppose, which I'm not necessarily saying is good or bad, but basically they'd have to find clever ways in order to be like slick about it to where they won't directly say it, and if you don't know what they're talking about, it'll sound like just another rhyming word, but they can like fit in whatever it is that they wanted to say, but they had to be clever about it, otherwise they can't play it on public radio. You know, now there's really not any of that cleverness necessary, and you get people like Lil Wayne and I don't know, different people like that who don't have to be clever anymore, so they just say what they want, and since they can say whatever they want, there's no need for that lovely, I don't know, slick way of doing it, so it just gets boring, because they can say whatever cuss words they want, all they have to do is bleep it, but you know what they're saying, so the bleep is basically pointless, but... where was I even going with this? Maybe I just wanted to rant about Lil Wayne, but, shoot, I had a point with this. What was my point? Basically, people no longer are subtle with their stuff anymore. Now, the point that I was going with this was, like, when people were depressed or something, you know, before, like, this huge Facebook jump or everything, they'd be dropping, like, subtle hints to people so that their, like, actual friends would be able to maybe pull them aside and say, hey, let me have a talk with you, you know, you're feeling down, let me be your friend, let me either suffer through this with you, anything like that, which is what friends are supposed to do in the first place. But there's been such a hard... what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry, my brain's dead. I drank a whole Red Bull before this, assuming that would help. It's really not helping as much as it should. Basically, people are having a really hard time being actual friends nowadays because they feel that if somebody ends up making like one little mistake, then they're really not worth being around, so they'll talk about them behind their back. Not that this hasn't happened through countless generations before, but I feel it's a lot more prevalent nowadays because social media things will give you a lot of followers is probably a better way to put it, which you think you can confide in. And what people have been doing recently, at least on my personal feed, is not even, a lot of times they'd even be clever ones, which I love cleverness to where it's not directly in your face, but it'll give people the idea, maybe I should talk to this person, see if they're doing all right. Now it's just even memes. They're using SpongeBob memes for these things, which is like, the Minion phase is gone. Thank God. But now it's SpongeBob. I love SpongeBob. Don't be using it for random depressing things which don't even relate to the picture that you're using. Why do you even do that? But people are just like swarming their feed with, I want to kill myself, I want to do this, I want to do that, I am so depressed, you know, don't you hate the feeling when this or that? Say that to your friends. I'm not saying don't call out for help. You should definitely do that, but don't... It's like crying wolf to an extent, because even if you do feel like that, if you're suicidal, it does last for a very long time, but you should be telling your friends that, not throwing it out on social media every single day, multiple times a day, because I know people on my feed that do that. And they're trying to, like, they don't even take it seriously sometimes. Sometimes they're using it just as a meme to blow it off, depressing memes, which are extremely popular right now. That's the word I was trying to say. Which, you're oversaturating the environment to where if you are actually planning on doing it that very day and you start posting about it as much, you can't post about it any more than you're already doing, so eventually people are going to consider it like the crying wolf effect, where now literally no one is going to take any notice to it because they figure this is your normal behavior. And if you're just throwing it out to everyone and you're not confiding in your like true friends about this, to where you can actually get some help, you can actually have them bring you through this, because you need that. If you're feeling suicidal or depressed, you need friends in order to get you through it. And basically, posting about it everywhere is, when it actually comes time to really need help, people aren't going to come. And that's just the way it is. And it's swarming to where it's not subtle anymore. But there's so many people in the generation that I'm in, that I've noticed on my feed. This is all coming from my own feed, so maybe I'm just friends with the wrong people on there. But I'm feeling there's a lot of other people who are experiencing the same thing. Hopefully, or else I'll sound completely insane right now. Not that that has never happened before. But, and again, I had a point. The biggest connection that I'm trying to think of is with the connection of all these people that feel that there is no worth in their lives, that there's no point to any of it, life's all a cruel joke. There's a lot of shows that are, instead of trying to like give all of these kids, people, not just kids, something that they can live for, that gives them a purpose, that gives them a reason to be on this planet right now, it seems like shows are trying to drive it home even further. And they're trying to do it in a humorous way, like Rick and Morty. You know, there's parts of Rick and Morty that I respect because they do have some really funny jokes in there, but they make it a point every single episode to tell all of their viewers that life is pointless, there's no God, you know, and if that's what you believe, then that's your thing. But the taglines they'll add on to that everything you do is pointless and all of those different things, which is what these kids already are starting to believe in their hearts. And the more it gets pounded in, the more they're going to believe that, which will either lead them to get extremely depressed and eventually they could even kill themselves because they've been told over and over that there's no point to it all, or they could go out to do really bad things because they realize that other people's lives don't matter either, so they could go out and do whatever the heck they want without any consequences as long as they don't get caught. Both of those very bad things, and one of the books that I've been reading, which is How to Win Friends and Influence People, which I also really recommend to anybody who's like watching this video, one of the two key urges that mankind has is like the sex urge, and then there is the feeling of importance. Those are the two, and you know how darn important the first one is. The second one is right up with there, sometimes even further. That's one of the biggest things that separate men from animals, is our feeling to be important. If we didn't have that, we wouldn't be out making anything. We'd be in the Stone Age for like ever. We'd almost be no different than animals if we didn't have that. That's how important this aspect is. And people keep taking that away as hard as they can from all of these people. If you don't believe in God, then you can find other things that'll give you a purpose to live. Find it in other people. You know? There are other people that are starving out there. If you don't believe that there's life after death, then you can go make their little time on this planet worthwhile. Go help other people, because if you end up just helping yourself, which is another thing that people have been trying to drive home in every single thing, that don't give a crap about anyone else. If someone treats you wrong, screw them, you know, go get revenge on them. How about that? I've heard that so many times and driven home, in comedies especially, where they try and make it funny in order to bring somebody else down, drive them to points of insanity that they didn't know they could reach. It's not a good philosophy, people. It's not going to help any of things that are happening. So whenever you're looking on the news, seeing all these dreadful things happening, it's because people don't think that any of it matters, when in fact it really does. It does a lot. So that's, for those of you that don't know, I personally do not believe in the theory of evolution. I believe parts of it, but I don't believe the entire, you know, what's the word? Accompaniment of theories that usually come along with it. There are parts that do make sense to me, but there are other parts which I can't really get behind because it doesn't make personal sense to me scientifically or logically. And if people want me to make a separate video on reasons why I find certain flaws in it, then you can just like request it, I guess, and I'll make another video for it. But one of the other things, which evolution didn't even used to be like that. Like, used to be just more of like a scientific explanation for a lot of things, which is okay. You can do that, you know? And it's all in like the endless process of learning that humans go through, which is healthy. It's good. But what people have been using, like the theory of evolution for, is to try and prove to all of these people that that mankind was basically kind of, not an accident per se, because evolution is not necessarily on the verge of accident, but just kind of like a physical process, but there's essentially no purpose for life in general. It's just kind of something that happens, which people can interpret that different ways, but the biggest way people that I've noticed have interpreted that is that it takes away their sense of importance. Because if you look at the vastness of the universe and they'll like show just how tiny and insignificant, they use the word insignificant a lot too. You know, which is a dangerous word to use in sense of people because it'll make them feel the exact same way, and therefore it's just not good for the human psyche to believe that they're not inherently important, because it's one of the two things that are most important to the human soul, human mind. Both of those things. Very, very important. So stop taking that away from people. As I've said, you can believe what you want. That is your right as a human. You know, and in Christianity, God pretty much from the very beginning gave you the right to choose anyways. So, and if you do believe in God, you believe in whatever, and you try and take that right away from people who do not, you're also, like, if they want to choose that themselves, then they can choose that for themselves. But if you try and force that upon people, you're actually going against what God set up in the first place, which is the right to choose, to make your own decisions, all of those sorts of things. Because if you didn't have that right as a human being, then you're basically a robot where everything was planned from the very beginning anyways as far as what actions you're going to take, and you really had no choice in the matter anyways. Which would make, first of all, that would make love impossible. You know, because if it's like these people making love robots nowadays, which is totally real, and I saw it on my Facebook feed once. Why is everything coming from my Facebook feed? I don't know, but it happened. And they're saying, like, this could, you know, fix loneliness, cure relationships. Really, no, it can't. You know, maybe it'd give you some sexual gratification if you're into that kind of thing. It's kind of weird, but people need human connection. And if a robot is basically programmed to like you, you can enjoy it for maybe probably like a couple of days, but then eventually you're like, wait a second, this is all kind of programmed. Like if Siri, for example, if you already have like pretty much figured out every single one of Siri's responses that it can give, because it's programmed to kind of give you what you want anyways, it's not, you know, it's not real. You know, that's why love can't be real if you don't have freedom of choice, you know? And in Christianity, basically, God gave you the right to be free to choose whatever the heck you want. A lot of people think that's like he set us up for failure from the beginning. If you want to look at it that way, maybe. But it's probably a lot more gratifying for someone to love you back by their own free will than to be physically programmed and forced to love you. That's, first of all, that just sounds really stalkerish, I suppose, in terms of humans. Like, that's also, Robin Williams as the genie on Aladdin also said he cannot force girls to fall in love with him. Poor Aladdin, but it ended up working out for him in the end because he found someone who actually liked him for who he was. Therefore, it made a lot more sense that way. So, I suppose the whole overall theme of this video, even though it went completely all over the place like these videos always do, is you are actually important regardless of whatever it is you believe, whether you think this is all just a bunch of chemical reactions, whether you think we were all created. No matter what you think, you actually do have a purpose. Whatever your own personal purpose is, that's something that you have to find out. I can't tell you whatever your purpose is because that's already somewhere in you. You're going to have to find, but that's kind of all the journey of life is, about finding whatever that is and doing it. So when you find it, you got to actually do it. Otherwise, your feeling of importance is going to go even further because you're going to kind of get trapped in a cage of what someone else wants you to do, which is not fun anyways. So don't do that. Yeah. People matter. You matter. Everything... everything's technically matter from a scientific standpoint of view. That's not true either. There's energy. This Red Bull's not working out for me. It's making my brain worse. Anyways, that's the video. That's pretty much what I wanted to say today. Is you're important. That is the entire gist of this video. So, all right. Well, I love you all. I will see you next time. Mwah. And again, next in the next 2 to 3 episodes, I should have like the video done. Lightsaber video, I've actually got everything filmed and everything. Now I need to figure out After Effects and how to make the lightsaber glowy effect and not make it look sucky. That's gonna be hard. So we'll see what we can do with that. Anyways, love you all. My fellow masochists out there, I will see you next time. Where's the record?